Welcome back to My Sister's TBR, the podcast where two bookish sisters embark on literary adventures one page at a time. I'm Stacey.
And I'm Rebecca. We're thrilled to have you back for another episode filled with bookish excitement.
This episode, we'll be diving into our featured read, Manacled by SenLinYu, a Harry Potter fanfiction based on a world where the Order lost and Voldemort enacts a repopulation effort.
It's Harry Potter meets The Handmaid's Tale. We'll be spilling the tea on all of our explicit feelings on this Hermione fanfic.
So grab your coziest blanket, a hot cup of coffee, and wands up.
But before we jump into it, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button and follow us on your favorite podcast platform. We wouldn't want you to miss any of our bookish banter.
All right, let the bookish journey begin. Welcome to My Sister's TBR.
This episode is going to be a little bit different.
Very
we have
different.
A special guest to help us talk about Manacled. We have Ilsa.
Hello.
Welcome.
Dolores Umbridge is a cunt.
Okay.
The first full sentence from Ilsa on the podcast.
The most
I love
important.
Yeah.
Okay. To start out, what did you guys rate this book?
Oh, 5. Like, I had no issues rating it a 5.
I was a 4.
Oh.
Unpopular opinion in this group.
What did you rate it, Rebecca?
I want to say I haven't officially went on to Goodreads yet and rated it just because it was late last night when I finished it. I'm gonna say a 4.5.
Oh,
That's what I initially rated it, and then once I processed it for a few days and thought about it more, I started nitpicking some things and I dropped it to a 4.
Oh my god.
Okay. Stacey sat there on her.
Yep, I am happily at a 5-star. Also, a very, very big warning. If you haven't read Manacled or haven't, I don't know what kind of rock you would have to be under, but haven't finished the Harry Potter series, there's going to be some pretty big spoilers. We are not...
we're not holding back.
We're not holding back, yeah.
No.
So, there's your warning. This is a very spoiler-filled episode.
Oh.
And very explicit.
Yes.
Yes. There's
all
gonna
the
be...
trigger warnings.
Yeah, there's going to be some pretty touchy subjects and language.
Mm-hmm.
So,
first question. So I know that there's been a couple people who have been back and forth with saying that they wish that they read the flashbacks first. How do you guys feel about that? Would you have rather read the flashbacks first or kept them where they are in the in-between?
I've heard a lot of people saying that they've gone back to reread Manacled and started, read it in chronological order. And they said that it does have a different impact on the story. But I think, you're first going into it, I think it should be done this way because you have all these big feelings about Draco and what's happening and, the, very explicit scenes between them. I think that hits totally different not knowing what you know in the flashbacks.
I thought it was really interesting, honestly. When it was going through the flashbacks, I was like, okay, when are we getting to the beginning of the book? You know what I mean? When are we getting up to that point where the book actually starts? And I thought that was I love that. I don't think I would want to reread it or want to go back and read the flashbacks first because that's in Dark Places by Gillian.
Oh, yeah, Flynn.
You know what I mean? I love how in that there was it was leading up to
it was a countdown.
Big event. Yeah.
You knew what was coming.
Yeah. So I loved that anticipation. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
I agree as well. I see people comment online that, they DNF'd at 10% because it's just horrible. They can't see how Draco can be redeemed. It's I get how, if the flashbacks were first, they might have a different opinion. But if you know Harry Potter at all, if you know the Dark Lord at all, there's more to it than what meets the eye in those first few chapters.
The Dark Lord. Did you hear that? I think she's converted. But yeah. Yeah, I've also seen a lot of people saying they DNF'd it even before the flashbacks hit, and I'm just like, you've got to stick with it. I mean, I understand in a sense, because I do feel like her writing, it is not that it was like bad writing. I mean, she did a really good job at expanding on Rowling's world, but there were a lot of parts where it just kind of felt like, and I don't want to be insensitive. I know I've talked about this. I don't know if it's been to both of you or not, but I've said that, like, it was kind of like Hermione was staying in like certain, I don't know how to say it without being like super insensitive, because I mean, our girl went through some shit, but it felt like a lot of the scenes were really dragged out. I felt,
Yes,
like, me, we already sympathize with Hermione and, you know, the situation that she's found herself in. No, I probably shouldn't say it that way.
Be a little bit more sensitive, Stacey.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of people say to me that they don't understand why it's Hermione and Draco, and why isn't it like Hermione and Harry.
I'm gonna say this now at the beginning. This fanfic has made me realize how much I actually dislike Harry.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. We talked about that a little bit the other day.
Yeah.
But
like his intense need not to use dark magic. Like, I get it to a point, but when literally everyone around you is dead, and the only way to win is to use a bit of dark magic, like, suck it up, princess.
He's very black and white. There is no gray at all.
Exactly, yeah.
And like, if they, and I'm gonna say it, if they listened to Hermione, a lot of people would not have died.
Yep, yes. 100%.
Yeah.
And Harry
so
wouldn't have been hung from the astronomy tower. And
what is with him and like the Fight Club stuff? Right. Like,
he now smokes and goes to Fight Club to deal with his problems.
Like, I get that, like, man says trouble, but like, I don't know, that just
like, is the boy from Windsor?
But honestly, I've had, like, the people who have told me this about being like, oh, why is it Hermione and Draco? They're clearly not a part of the bookish community who love dark romance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, the, like, morally gray, the enemies to lovers, like, like, come on.
Yeah, like, oh, you're an asshole and you like to kill people? Yep.
Why not?
Yeah, we're not here for friends to lovers.
No, we are not.
We got that with the movies and the books.
Yes,
more so the books. I think the books did obviously way better with Hermione and Ron.
Yep, definitely.
But, yeah, I just So I was a little lost in like the timeline of when everything was happening. Like I was constantly having to like go back and like try to remember like what years all of this was happening.
Oh yeah.
So I think what I've gathered is that from November 2004 to March 2005, Hermione was a surrogate. Then from March 2002 to July 2003 were the flashbacks. And then afterwards, then it was June 2005 and onward was the part 3.
I think that sounds right.
That sounds right.
So all of this happened in a matter of 3 years. Like, I feel like Hermione is after, like, she did a lot of growth in those 3 years. I find, like, if you look at the way that she was processing things as a surrogate, like in the first part of the book versus her as soon as the flashbacks hit, like, you could really see a big difference in Hermione.
Well, I mean, God, trauma will definitely, trauma would do that. Yep.
And the girl went through a lot of it.
Yep. So both mine and Ilsa's it seems our notes start very similarly. The very first thing that I wrote after getting those like dates down right, the very first actual note that I wrote was Umbridge is just as much as a loathsome bitch as she was in Harry Potter.
Mine's literally book 1. I talked a little, like I had a little comment about like the sensory deprivation that Hermione went through, and then it just goes straight to, in caps, Dolores Umbridge is a cunt.
Yep.
I didn't think it was possible for me to hate her more than I already did.
Right?
That
But
was
here we
my
are.
same thought process. I was like, as she was entering the story, I was like, oh my god, like, I mean, I knew it was coming because, you know, how much worse could it possibly get, really? But also, like, I know there were like reviews or like videos that I'd come across that had sort of, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Indicated that Umbridge was, you know, a big part of the start of the story. But I was like, there's no way that it's possible to hate her any more than you hate her in the Harry Potter books, because she was horrendous.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow SenLinYu took her and like made her even worse. Somehow she did it.
She did Mission Impossible.
God.
Yeah,
But I honestly
I wasn't expecting it.
No, but like I found, obviously, aside from like there were some like not spelling errors really, but like lack of words or words missing. I felt like there wasn't a whole lot of a difference between like I felt like I was just reading another like a continuation. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I feel like she did such a good job at incorporating like the movies and the books into this Manacled. Like, I don't know. Like,
no,
I
I
thought it was
completely
fantastic.
understand. Yeah, like it didn't feel like it was a whole different universe. Like, she still did such a good job at making you feel like you're still in the Harry Potter universe. It's just alternate.
Yeah.
Darker.
It reads so well, and she just gets you so emotionally invested, even if like you weren't already, like if you didn't care about Draco, if you didn't care about Snape, like she just pulls you into those characters.
Yep. Agreed completely. She I cannot express how much Harry and Ron, and like pretty well just the whole order in general, got on my freaking nerves. Like, I was so annoyed by the way that they were treating Hermione. Even, like, I really like how she kept Ginny and Hermione's friendship, like, really, like, it was good that Hermione had that friendship. But even still, there were times that Ginny was still, like, I can't even, like, pinpoint a specific thing. Just, I don't know. It's just there were still times that she felt like, or that it felt like she was still like a toxic red flag for Hermione.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's like when Hermione was leaving after the Christmas party at the Weasleys, or Christmas at the Weasleys, and she was like leaving. And Ginny was like, "Why are you still going on about this?" Like, because she was freaking right.
Yeah.
Like, shut up. God.
I'm sorry. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate from this. But why, and I know this is skipping ahead a bit as well in discussion, but why, of all the people to keep alive, was it Ginny?
I know. I know.
Like, you're putting me through the trauma now of seeing Snape go, Dobby go, but, like, you keep Ginny?
Yeah.
Ginny.
I know. And she's the one, again, like you said, we're really skipping ahead here, but she's the one that kills off Voldemort, doesn't she? Like, she finishes it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, why? I wanted that to be Hermione.
I didn't deep dive into my thoughts about, like, the whole Ginny thing, and I'm not going to bring it down any further in the rating, but God.
Yeah.
My God. It could have, I don't know. I mean, I don't mind Ginny. They really made her a potato in the movies. The books, she was I enjoyed her in the books, but like I said, the movies really dulled her down. She had absolutely zero personality. So I do feel like this was a bit of a redemption for her.
Yeah,
Fair.
the movies definitely tainted my view of her.
Yeah, yeah. But still, I mean, I still feel like it literally could have been anybody else.
Yeah.
But I just wanted it to be Hermione. Like, I understand from like the writing standpoint about why it wasn't Hermione that really finished it all. But
Yeah.
we just all had to process that for a minute.
Okay, but like literally right from the beginning of all of this, I just couldn't get over how, like, I know obviously this is an adult, like, you know, but the difference between the Harry Potter world and this book, it really just went to show like how much everything is glossed over in the Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, yes, we know people get crucioed. We know that people get put in, like, locked up in like cells or whatever. And this really, holy crap. Like,
Yeah.
I love how much this actually explained like the long-lasting effects of being crucioed or being tortured or being locked away.
Yeah,
with,
like the tremors and stuff. Like,
yes,
yeah,
because the most
But,
they got
like-
into it in the books or the movies was Neville's parents, right? Like they
Yeah.
talked about him being crucioed, and that was kind of it. And you
Yeah.
kind of see it a little bit with the spider or whatever spider thing he had, or Mad-Eyed Moody had in class, but that's about it.
yeah, so glossed over.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I mean, I understand it from Rowling's point of view because, you know, it was meant to be a children's, you know, or like YA, whatever. Like, you know, it's all about how good triumphs over evil. So I understand her not wanting to really delve in, showing the real dark side of, you know, all the dark magic. But so SenLinYu had this like this whole other part, this whole other part of Harry Potter that she could delve into and really like make her own kind of.
Yeah.
So like she was just able to do like everything dark and I loved it. Like the even like right from the part where she talks about when everybody's hung up around Hogwarts, like their bodies and stuff, and
like Harry's strung from the astronomy tower, Ron's next to him, and then the rest of the Order are there as well.
Yeah, so like she talks about how Ron's blood turned to molten lead, and like that visual.
Yeah,
and then about how Remus was lasting longer than the others because his lycanthropy, was like healing him as it was,
and then
yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah, like that's dark. I can't imagine. And I was just so sad because I love Lupin.
Yeah.
And he killed him. But I don't know. Like there were so many people that I was really hoping that she was just going to be like, oh, you know what? They died in actual Harry Potter, but you know, we're going to let them live here. We're going to be happy. But nope. They couldn't freaking give me Dobby.
Yeah, we just gotta go through the trauma again.
Yeah, literally. But what I really liked though is in the books, I don't think it's brought up at all in the movies, but in the books, they talk about the elf, Draco's elf.
Oh, Topsy?
Toppy. So that's brought up in the books. I remember her from the books. And I love how she's like, she brought that up. I don't know. I just love that.
Yeah.
How that went into this book too. Oh,
I agree. So fun fact, I know like we've talked about how like there are some typos or some like grammatical errors. Did you know she wrote this on her phone?
Yes, I did see that.
Yeah. Her baby had a lot of like sleeping problems or like not sleeping well, and she literally wrote it on her iPhone. Like edited it herself, like uploaded it just all from her phone. So
can't imagine
I mean that's
being that talented.
That
I
is
know.
amazing.
Yeah. And
but in saying that, I would love for this book to actually see a professional editor.
Yeah.
And see what it would be after that, because most of my rating would go up to probably almost a 5-star.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people's ratings would.
Yeah, I don't know, like, there was things that were just kind of left and never talked about again, even though it was brought up in the first part of the book. I don't know if an editor would be like, oh, hey, like, fix this, or add a little something.
Or just take it out entirely.
Yeah.
Oh my god. One of the discussion questions that I had there was, did you think the character deaths were necessary?
Harry's death should have been necessary, and then everyone else come up with the dark magic and do what needed to be done.
Yeah. I think, 100%. Like, I think Harry's death could have been that driving force. I mean, I know, like, a lot of people would probably say that, like, yeah, the deaths were necessary because, you know, without the deaths, like, Ginny wouldn't have been strong enough to do whatever she had to do, and Hermione wouldn't have been strong enough, and, you know, like, a lot of that trauma is what brought Hermione to where she was too. But no, I still think that even if it was just Harry, and I don't like pick on him, but you know, if it was just him, then I think that would have done just as much for you know, like, character development.
I feel like more people would have gotten on board then too with Hermione if he wasn't there in everybody's ear. Be like, no, we're sticking with the light.
Speaking of other characters, did anyone notice like any big characters that weren't mentioned in the book that you feel like should have been? And correct me if I'm wrong, because I did read this fairly quickly, so I may have just missed it. But from my retention of what I've read, I don't think I did. But Hagrid.
Oh, he died. Let me just...
So I just completely missed...
Yeah, it was, like, literally almost like a footnote. It was just a sentence. Let me just find that real quick. She said he was in the mountains, maybe, with Madame... What's her face?
Okay, yeah, I do remember reading that, but I don't remember reading that he died.
They had received word that Hagrid and Maxime had been captured and executed shortly after the prison attack.
Bastards.
Yeah. Yeah.
God.
Literally, his name comes up twice in the whole book. That's sad.
I don't agree with that.
No.
He deserved way more than that.
Yeah. Because at one point, I think she defends Hagrid when Draco says something about him being pathetic. No, never mind. That was a callback to, like, a flashback. Third year Malfoy stood in front of her sneering. Have you ever seen anything quite as pathetic? And he's supposed to be our teacher. And then she hits him.
So I love how she did that, though. Like, there were so many, like, callbacks to, like, their years in Hogwarts, and like how, like that flashback of when she hit her Draco.
Yeah.
I can't remember the other ones, but I know there were a couple. But I love that.
Oh. Oh my god. I highlighted that when Hannah was talking to Hermione right at the start. It was like chapter 2. Let your Gryffindor die, Hermione. Don't try to be brave. Don't try to be clever. Just keep your head down. Like, that must have killed Hermione. My heart. The part where Ginny thought Hermione and Snape.
Oh my god.
Oh, you screwed up your face to it? But...
Don't tell me you were into that.
No. There was something that Ilsa sent to me or tagged me of whatever it was. Can you find it again?
Be a good girl and bend over for Daddy.
We love an age gap.
It's not doing it for her.
No. No.
Are you sure?
What side are you on, Stacey? Am I alone?
I don't mind it.
I can't. Normally, like,
I'll find something for you.
I mean, that is my ringtone.
oh my god.
No, you don't.
Can you imagine just in the middle of D&D that starts playing?
Oh, jeez.
Oh my god. Oh. But yeah, I thought that part where Ginny and like Hermione gets like so flustered trying to say like, no, there's nothing, like, there's nothing going on. Oh my god. But yeah, now it hits a little different. So she writes like the things that she wrote Draco saying, like where he says, "You're mine, you swore yourself to me, now and after the war you promised it. I'm going to take care of you, I'm not going to let anyone hurt you. You don't have to be lonely because you're mine." Like,
I have that quoted as well.
yeah.
So good.
Yeah. And it was crazy because like it was just so Draco, like the clipped sentences, you know, like even just that.
Yeah. Oh, she did like literally a perfect job at
Yeah.
keeping him.
Yeah.
Oh,
What I really liked, that was kind of like, not so Draco, but I got giddy reading it. "You're like a rose in a graveyard," he said, and his lips curved into a bitter smile. I wonder what you could have turned into without the war.
Yeah, so now we need a fan fiction, Hermione fan fiction of no war, just them.
Yeah. But I love how possessive he is. Like, I mean, I was expecting it, but like,
Yeah, I know.
When he goes, "I always have to choose, and I never get to choose you. I'm tired of not getting to choose you."
Ah,
Yeah.
God. Oh,
And the like best quote of all, "I have warned you. If something happens to you, I will personally raise the entire order. That isn't a threat, it's a promise. Consider your survival as much a necessity to the survival of the resistance as Potters. If you die, I will kill every last one of them." And he did. Like,
God, I'm obsessed.
yeah.
And something I didn't have highlighted, but I seen in one of the reviews, and it had quotation marks on it, so it might have been from there because it did seem familiar when I read it. "The Malfoy men may not be saints, but they worship their women fervently."
Yep. Because, I mean, like, even look at... yeah. Because that goes right back to, like, Draco being compared to a dragon. And kind of like that
I have
hoarding.
that quote there as well.
Oh, it's so good. Because it makes perfect sense. I mean, Draco.
Want. She felt it like her heartbeat. If he couldn't hide her, he would hoard her to himself as much as he was able. She'd fallen for a dragon.
Mm-hmm. Yep. One of the questions on her website was, did Draco or Hermione die first? And her answer to it was pretty good too. She said Hermione died first because her use of the dark arts caught up to her in the end. I don't think she died young per se. Average life expectancy for a muggle, but young by wizarding standards. It was very peacefully in her sleep with Draco, and they both knew that she was fading, so they'd said their goodbyes and done all those last things. But after that, I go back and forth about how long Draco would have lingered, because there's a part of me that thinks that his is a heart that would only beat a split second longer than Hermione's, that as soon as he knew she was gone, that would be it for him. But then there's another part of me that feels like Draco would want to be the one who told Aurora?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's how I was pronouncing it.
Yeah.
Aurora.
That Hermione had died. I think Aurora would know that Draco was not going to be around once he lost Hermione, but I think he would have said goodbye to her. As to the specifics, I've always tended to think that if he really wanted to die, he simply would. It's kind of a sad twist on Hermione's wish in the pre-flashback chapters about being able to die by simply wishing it fervently enough. I tend to think that because of the runes, Draco could do that, and that once he didn't have Hermione anymore, he would.
I have goosebumps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because look at how Lucius reacted to what's her
Narcissa.
name? Yeah. Narcissa. How she died, right?
So I fully expected this to end with Hermione dying or just absolutely losing all of her memories. And when I kept reading about her like memory slowly fading, or talking about her memories eventually going to fade, I was like, oh god, this is gonna be like Notebook, and she's just gonna like wither away. I literally was just like not ready, but like this is jumping ahead as well, but I kept seeing so many videos of people's before reading Manacled and after reading Manacled. It ended how it ended. Still not over it, but I didn't cry.
Yeah, I did. It was delayed. I had the same sort of reaction because I was like sitting there and I was like, okay, like I expected full on exactly what you just said, that she was going to like lose all of her memories, that was going to be it. But I just sat there for a minute. I was like, okay, so it's a happily ever after. It's a good. And then I thought about it, that last fucking line.
Yeah.
Where she's just a footnote.
Yeah.
You know, that it says that she was an inactive member of the order.
And she did not fight.
And she didn't
freaking fought harder than anyone in that goddamn book. I like
sorry, Mom.
I'm so sorry, Mom. Close your ears. I'll pray later. Okay. So I literally, for the last like 10%, I was sat here. I was like, okay. No, it was the last 5%. I was like, okay. Things are going great. What about the last freaking 5%? Like, what's going to happen? I kept going and going. The last chapter, I was walking back and forth in my kitchen. I'm not kidding. I was literally just pacing back and forth as I was reading, and I was like, something's gonna happen. Yeah. Something's gonna go wrong really, really badly, and I'm about to cry. Like, and I like, you know, like the anticipation, and then I got to that last line, and I hit next, and I was like, next. Like, this is the end. And I go back, and I'm just staring at it, and I'm like, I was like, I don't know how to feel. I don't know what's going on. Like,
for me, it was more so just the emotional, like, almost like once it was over, I could breathe. A kind of like a relief. But then it was that realization that she never got like any sort of recognition. They all thought that she was just behind the scenes, not doing anything, and that she just died in the fire at Malfoy Manor.
Aurora and James are gonna fix that.
Yeah. She has an extended epilogue with them. I'll find it and I'll send it to you guys. Yeah.
Yes, please.
So about how we thought that Hermione was going to lose all of her memories again. That was one of the questions that SenLinYu answered as well. Somebody said, did Hermione ever lose her memories again? So get ready, because this is...
I'm not ready.
So things got spotty for her towards the end. She'd get worried and ask Draco where Aurora was, and he'd have to remind her that Aurora had grown up, but her life was very focused on Draco. So she'd lose track of other things or suddenly get a bit lost in previous points in time. But Draco was always a part of wherever her mind went, and she'd be able to stay calm as long as he was with her, and he'd reassure her and remind her that they were safe. So she did end up, like, losing her memories and stuff after.
So, I had another thought. I don't know if this is actually accurate or if it was just me making it up in my brain. So, the thing that was put in his heart, and he was talking about how that works with proximity or
Mm-hmm.
by proximity.
Yeah.
Is that why she feels so calm around him?
Probably. It's also why the dark magic didn't really affect her as much as it should have, and why
Okay.
she does better around him.
Okay, so that's why it didn't like corrode her away from using dark magic until like way later. Okay,
Mhm.
that makes sense. Okay.
Uh,
I want to touch on something, and I should have
Mhm.
done it earlier because it's referring to chapter 9,
Mhm.
but it's going back to like her memories going and coming, kind of. But she's thinking, I have written here, she's thinking of this beautiful chunk of a teenager prose in chapter 9, 2 days after he last raped her, and long before she regained any of the memories, which would make her think of Draco as anything other than a monster.
Mhm.
So, like, that was part of what bothered me, was she still had, like, I don't know, it irked me a little bit, I guess. She shouldn't, like, if she's lost all those memories and she just knows Draco is high Reeve and just being a complete shit, then why is she thinking about him like that, given her situation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless it's like there's some Stockholm
I mean, they
happening.
talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ugly.
But I really like though how all of like the trigger warnings that she would give at the beginning of the chapters.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I thought
Like,
that was really
you can
considerate.
like mentally, yeah, you can like mentally
The first one that I like, the very first content warning that she gave at the start of the chapter, it sort of like jarred me a little because it was like I wasn't expecting it, and it sort of took me out of the story a little bit. But I was fine.
I was expecting it though, because at the beginning of the book, though, she specifies that she was going to put trigger warnings at the beginning of whatever chapters.
Yeah, I don't think I read that.
Okay. I was expecting it.
I don't, like, usually when anything has to do with trigger warnings, I don't normally read it because I don't have any trigger warnings or triggers.
I noticed a lot of people say that going back to they didn't like the book because of how much rape and everything there was in the first part of the book, and they didn't read further, and they were kind of comparing it to Haunting Adeline.
Oh.
Whereas, like, romanticizing rape culture. But, like,
I don't think it was doing that.
Not.
I didn't get that at all from it.
So many people are on that boat that they were trying to romanticize it, but it's absolutely not. Like, there was no elements of pleasure for either of them.
No,
like,
and exactly. Like, he even got like physically ill that first time that they had to be like face to face.
Yeah, like, I just looked at the comments. I'm like, how can you even begin to compare this to that book where it's just like Missy is just completely messed up in the head and she likes to be scared and likes all of the dark
that adrenaline from it.
Yeah. There's no comparison.
No, it's completely different. Yeah. And also I liked how, like, again with the trigger warnings before, she specifies that like she needed to include those parts to like not take away like
from Hermione's trauma, basically.
Yeah, like it was needed for the story, and she at least like kind of glazed over it. Like she didn't go into too much detail, which I liked.
Yeah, she sort of like she went into a little bit of detail like the first time, but I feel like just about every time after that it was more of a okay, it happened.
Yeah.
Right? Like she didn't really delve into it much at all.
Yeah, and she specified before that first chapter saying that she didn't want to discredit anything. Yeah. Like she needed to somewhat explain what happened so that like she didn't want to take away from I don't know. I liked it. I didn't I like how she went about I like how she went about it. Like
I think she did it as delicately as possible. While still being true to the story that she was telling.
Yep, 100%. I agree.
Yeah, the question about how somebody had asked, is it true that you wrote Manacled on your phone? And she said, it is. My baby had a lot of issues with sleep, and so I had to hold him during his naps. And so I started writing fan fiction on my notes app. Pretty much the entire story was written, revised, and posted via my iPhone. That's pretty cool.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think even with like the issues that I had with the story, I think I'm still quite comfortable with a 5-star. I can't stop thinking about it. I literally have not finished a book yet since I finished Manacled because I can't. Like I'm having such a hard time. So I don't know.
I feel like if it went through an editor and I reread it after that, it could probably boost my mark up a lot. But I definitely still had some issues with like the story itself. And just, I mean, I guess that could get taken care of by being edited, but
You're
I feel like
comfortable
it was
with your
still,
rating.
I feel like it would still get glazed over.
Yeah. Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
I can understand that. I don't know. There was just something about this fan fiction that I started it and I couldn't stop, and I could overlook every negative part. I could look over every issue that was, in the story, and I'm just like, no, I loved it.
I think the only reason why I knocked off like 0.5 of a star is how often she used his mouth twitched. Or their mouth twitched. What does that even?
Yeah, like a kind of like a smirk. Like yeah,
trying not to smile, but you get a little bit of a.
But it happened so often. It was like every single page somebody's mouth smirked or twitched. I don't know. I just.
But what if the mouth twitching was also caused by the effects of the Cruciatus curse?
Yeah, Rebecca.
Touche.
I have a question for both of you, because I'm curious if either of you were irked by this. I have a little section of just like irks.
Irks. I love it.
That's how I named it. But they implied early on that someone was helping Hermione while she was in her sensory deprivation cell. Everyone forgot about her, but she was still being fed. And then they just
I've seen
never
this come up a
touched on
lot.
it again.
Yeah.
It was in Hogwarts, right? So it's the house elves. How they bring food up to the Great Hall or whatever. They just magically.
But like the way they just brought it into the story, I feel like they should have at least like had a little memory or a little tidbit. Yeah, that happened.
I have seen a lot of people have questioned that and had issues with that, but it never even like I don't know. Like when I was reading it, I just knew the house elves because they would bring the food up to the Great Hall, or they would do like whatever, or they just magically pop up and like Hogwarts Legacy run around a corner. And
okay, that's true. Okay, I can. Yeah, that does make sense.
But I can see for story-wise, it should have been put in, yes, because of how many people have
like that would have been a cute little add-on because she was working with the elves, saving the elves. And having that little bit like the elves were helping her in her time of desperation.
Yeah.
Instead, they just kind of gone.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I actually like almost cried when Draco sent Topsy away and didn't say goodbye to her. I literally, no, I was like, I can't do this right now. But then when he goes back to East Asia where the safe house is, and she finally like sees him again and she's so mad. Oh my God, it's so
yeah, that brought me closer to crying than anything else did.
Yeah. Did you cry at all, Ilsa?
No.
Me neither.
I was an emotional wreck reading this entire book, which is saying something because
close a couple times, like a couple topics, or just like Dobby. Um, definitely brought me close, just like brought it back, but it didn't. I don't know. I just didn't let it sink in that much.
Yeah. I couldn't.
Yeah, I didn't cry at all.
Oh, I think it's because of how much I love like everything Harry Potter, and just getting this. I don't know. It almost felt like sensory overload, kind of like reading it and getting so many different outcomes.
I don't think I can watch or read Harry Potter again without this just being at the forefront of my brain now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Playing on
Just
loop
be
in your
screaming
head.
"die" every time Harry Potter comes on the TV.
Yep.
Fucking
Be like,
yep.
I hate you.
I bet I could never. 6 times.
Yeah.
A couple little things. The one thing I already spoke to you about briefly, and I'm curious if Rebecca felt the same because you guys read it at a more leisurely pace compared to what I did. So yeah, the repetitiveness between the book one and book two, the parts where she would have partial memory, but when they'd go back and do the full, like they repeated everything.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just like a line or two, it was like paragraphs and even like a page at some point. I was just like, oh my God, like this book is so long, it didn't need that much repetition.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
My counter to that was like where I read it, there were, days and days between, that point in the first book versus when I read it in the flashbacks. So for me, it was good because it was a callback then for me to remember what was actually happening or what was said. So it didn't feel like it was, honestly, I didn't even realize that she repeated so much in the flashbacks.
Like,
I don't know.
I noticed it, but at the same time, I like took the whole month basically to read this book.
Yeah, I read it in a day. So,
yeah.
Like I didn't mind the little sentences, like when they had their little like "be careful, don't die." Like I thought that was cute, like the little bit of repetitiveness there. But my God, and like it might have made it worse because it was always scenes with Ginny in the memories, and I was just, it felt like torture reading all that, and I just skimmed those parts because I was like, I literally read all this half hour ago.
Yeah. Whereas for me it was like days.
Yeah.
So yeah, I understand. Yeah, like if she cut out a lot of that and made the book smaller, then it wouldn't have taken so long to get to that point, so you wouldn't need that much of a like recall to repetitiveness.
Then I had two smaller icks that were just kind of story related. The one, I felt like it just strayed so far from the Hogwarts and like the actual J.K. Rowling world and the lore from that. But when they talk about the surrogates being just Muggleborns and half-blood girls, but like Voldemort was so like pure blood, that's it. And like
I think
they're
that was
having the breeding population. They kind of touched on it a little bit, but it just seemed very out of place in the pure-blooded world. And essentially, like the whole reason the war started in the first place was to get rid of the half-bloods and mudbloods. So that just kind of bothered me.
Yeah, I can see that, honestly.
I'm trying to find,
especially for like how everybody was so against it, and now all of a sudden everyone's like, oh yeah, sure, let's rape our freaking surrogates. Like they were all for it then.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I can't find it because it's not coming up under Half-Blood or anything, but
I know they said that like the pure-blooded families like aren't procreating as much as they would like to keep their population up, but like
it was meant to be like a multi-generational thing, like
trying to make stronger wizards with strong families, but it just felt out of place to me. Like it just it didn't sit the best with me, I guess.
Why?
Like I get where she was coming from, but it just felt too far of a stretch for what the Dark Lord is actually like and what he stands for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the last little arc I had was just the Manacles being too overpowered in the sense that, like, nothing in the magical world was that powerful as a magical object per se, but, like, nothing can, like, they're completely foolproof.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I just had, they did far beyond what any magical object would have done in the wizarding world. And, oh, and I think they just simplified things to make Hermione as helpless as possible, which is frustrating.
Yeah.
Because, like, if anyone could figure out how to get out of the Manacles, would be her. But, like, there was just nothing. Like,
I did like, though, when she was fighting Lucius closer to the end of the book, where she was like, okay, I need to do whatever I can to protect my baby. So she found a way around being able to fight back.
yeah.
Right. So, like, I did like that. She was like, okay, focus on, like, protecting your baby, focus on that. And then she was actually able to, like, fucking boot him. Everybody feel the book hangover. Like,
Yeah.
nothing
It's
is
bad.
gonna top that.
I haven't been able to really I've really gotten into Iron Flame, but it took me a lot at the start. Like I really had to force myself through a bit of it. And of course Chris was like, "Oh, it can't be a very good book if it can't get you out of a book slump." I said, "You've obviously never been in a book slump then." Because there ain't nothing hauling me out of this. But I think I'm finally now getting over that slump.
Sad times. Oh god.
I'm just looking now to see. No, that same day, I ended up reading 4 more books.
I was gonna say it wasn't long after that you were asking about the really
Mindfuck
short
series. Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, I started those that night and stayed up all night reading them. So, like, I had a couple hours of book hangover, but, like, I did still feel it as I was going. Like, I wanted more of that, but
Yeah.
I almost picked up and started reading Harry Potter over again. My TBR is way too long to be rereading these again right now.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah. But like,
And I have a book goal I need to finish before
oh
the
god,
end of
I'm not gonna
next
hit
month.
mine. There's no way I'm gonna hit mine. I have to read 1.5 books per week until the end of the year.
I think you could do
Don't
that.
look like that. I can't do that.
Is there anything else that we?
No, I think that pretty well sums up our Manacled discussion. Overall, I 100% recommend. Maybe not as a first fan fiction because it
I don't know though, because I've
hard.
I read one fan fiction years ago, and I was just like, I feel like I'm reading a 13-year-old's study diary, and it was horrible. So when you told me like you're reading a Harry Potter fanfic, I'm just like, oh dear God.
Yeah, you
so
didn't
it
have
definitely
a very
exceeded my expectations
Oh,
by miles. Like I said, I had a few nitpicky things, and I'm being stingy with my 5 stars. But I would 100% recommend anyone who likes Harry Potter to read these.
Yeah.
This was my first ever fanfic, and I remember a couple of years ago, I don't even remember who it was now, but somebody asked me if I've ever read any Harry Potter fanfic, and I was like, no, oh my god, like, I don't want to, like, nah, like, I don't want to do that, like, I don't know why, I don't know what my reasoning was at all, but now,
yeah,
God, I'm on the dark side.
There's so many that I want to, like, really dive into. I mean, like, the options are endless. Maybe I'll just reread Manacled again.
No, you have a lot of books to catch up on.
Oh my god, yeah. I do.
Yep.
The new Crescent City is coming out in February.
I'm not going to get to that by February.
It's 2 books.
I have to finish ACOTAR.
Same.
I've got...
you should make December just SJ Mask Month.
There we go.
Okay. I'm game.
Done.
I think we might as well say it now. We're featuring the Wreck the Halls by Tessa Bailey. It's also the book club book of the month. So we're, again, 2 birds, 1 stone.
Yep.
And it's a short book, so I figured that would give us a lot of wiggle room to read other books. I know, Rebecca, you're going to have a hard time because you're going to be visiting.
Yeah, I need to so I fly home on the 14th, so I need to get as much reading done as possible in those first 2 weeks, because my 3 weeks home, I'm not going to get any reading done at all.
Yeah.
But I'm also, my flight home is literally going to be 24 hours of travel, so
you could pound out 2 books.
Yeah.
Small ones, but you could do it. Yeah, okay. Well, I guess we can cut the podcast there. It was lovely having you, Ilsa.
It was lovely being here.
I'm sure you'll be back for another Akatar
themed
episode next.
Yes.
I
can't
will
wait.
gladly join you to talk about Akatar. It might have to be a longer segment because I have many more opinions. You would need a segment per book.
I'm okay with that.
Yep.
Thank you, listeners. If there are any left.
We didn't scare you away.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and rate our podcast if you're listening, because that helps us get out to more people.
Heck yeah.
I guess that's it.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Toodles.
Bye.